Bonjour Max, my name is Bruce and I'm the eldest son of a Canadian dairy farmer. And I just so happen to have a lot of friends who farm beef, sheep, eggs, crops, turkey, produce, and chicken, you name it. But I support all forms of supply management. So let's talk about that. Growing up on a dairy farm taught me a lot of life lessons. Work hard, be good to your neighbors, and stand up for what you believe in. And that's why I'm here today, Max. Now I know politics have changed a lot in the last 4 years. Politicians can say anything online these days, and there's too many news agencies out there that will run the clickbait. Clickbait is really easy to make. Honestly, we live in a world of alternative facts. People can say literally anything and it will get shared so much online that it becomes a fact. For example, I could say since you don't support Motion 103 about anti-Islamophobia that you must be a Nazi. Now I know that that isn't true and it's a silly assumption, but you get my point. Okay, let's try another. I could also say that during your time as Foreign Affairs Minister, you were careless enough to take sensitive security documents home to your girlfriend who had ties to the Hells Angels for her to potentially see, but that's just sensationalism. Not like you had to resign from cabinet over the scandal. But you want to be our next Prime Minister, so let's talk about that. The leader of our country would not start an election campaign by picking a lightning rod issue which only 2% of the population understand and turning the 98% against them. The leader of our country would not spread lies like supply management harms consumers without facts. The leader of our country would not do all of that just to get TV interviews to spread his baseless lies, and yet that's exactly what you did last year.
When Maxime calls us farmers a cartel, if it wasn't so serious, I'd want to laugh about it. We're about as far from a cartel as you can get. We're family farms, we work in our communities, and we work hard every day. We are not in any way, shape, or form an oil cartel. We're out here 365 days a year, seven days a week, and we're caring for our animals all of that time. I think sometimes I spend more time in the barn than I do in my house, and that's the way that most farmers are. We care an awful lot about the food that we produce, and we take a lot of pride in that. And I'd just like to tell Maxime that he's welcome to come by my place anytime, and he can see just how close to a Saudi oil sheik I am.
We have no more time for alternative facts, Max. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the facts, figures, and proof about why supply management is a system worth fighting for. And if you stay tuned long enough, there's a special message just for you at the end. Now, if you look at this actual real graph, Canadian milk is 26 cents more in Canada than in the US. And milk is actually 20 cents more in New Zealand. If you look at this actual real graph at the bottom, it shows the farm gate prices that farmers are receiving. New Zealand has the lowest. That means processors and grocery stores are pocketing the majority of the revenue made from milk, and the farmer is selling at a loss. Now, whether you like it or not, Max, farmers own quota. That is a fact that you cannot ignore or deny. They have worked their entire lives and financed their homes to purchase quota, and it's an asset, no different than your house or car, or a tractor for that matter. We were willing with CEDA and TPP to give up market share so that our farming neighbors could have a share in the overseas market. Would you be willing to give up 10% of your house or car that you've paid for, that you're not going to get that money back from? Does that sound right to you?
So supply management to my family means that we are getting a fair share of the consumer dollar. It means that we are guaranteed to make more than our cost of production, which means that we can make a reasonable living. And unlike farming in the States, they aren't guaranteed to make cost of production. So that's super important to us. It also means that we can invest most of the money that we make on the farm back into the local economy, either by spending that money locally or reinvesting into the local economy.
Not only does supply management ensure fair farm prices for tens of thousands of dairy, turkey, egg, and chicken farmers, it also employs people directly at the farm, local businesses, their support staff, transportation jobs, and processing jobs. Now, my French isn't so good, but if you look at this graph here, you'll see that dairy farming is Quebec's 4th largest employer. In Canada, that is over 280,000 jobs, and not just in dairy. Now, if I'm not being clear, here's the point. Sacrificing all of supply management means sacrificing hundreds of thousands of Canadian jobs. And for what? The remote possibility of trade? Did you know that we gave up market share for CETA, and now the European countries have brought in beef standards to make it impossible for us to export to them? So Max, the moral of the story is you're wrong, and if you disagree, I challenge you to a debate on the subject. You choose the date and the time, and I'll be there. We will discuss this openly with a factual discussion about the realities of our food system. We will talk about your lack of leadership ability putting Canadians against one another, and how you're going to lose the Conservative leadership race to an honest, family-oriented MP who will unite Canadians and consumers and farmers. To the farmers who may be watching this, you may or may not agree with supply management, but we all know eliminating it would cause significant harm to our neighbors. Max's ignorance is not limited to dairy and eggs. Ask yourself how much his lies and false sense of reality could harm your farm.
It's been very frustrating to watch the level of misinformation being spread about the thousands and thousands of hardworking supply managed families. To call them multi-millionaire families is, I would hope, maybe ignorance, but I don't feel that that's the case. I feel that we're blatantly misleading the consumer, and they're not understanding that these people are running businesses no different than I'm running a business. They're staying up late at night trying to figure out how they're going to make ends meet. And to mislead people and make them think that somehow we're a bunch of corporate rich multimillionaires is hurtful. And I think that for somebody running to be our Prime Minister, we need to have somebody that's willing to stand up and say what's true and what matters to regular everyday Canadians. And what matters to regular everyday Canadians, whether we're in Listowel or Toronto, it's having access to safe, affordable food, which whether we're a supply managed farm or myself, a pig farmer, that's what we do each and every day. We wake up and we make safe and affordable food for people. And I don't think that it is too much to ask that we receive fair compensation for making that food. I think that that's a fair system that we have, and to have people spread the lies about how one particular component of that business, of our business operates, it's very frustrating and hurtful, and I think ultimately it leads to the degradation of our overall political system.
That's why we need to vote for a candidate who understands and is open to learning about Canadian agriculture. We stand together against the
Politics of division and lies.
We stand together to strengthen Canadian agriculture
By electing a leader who will build us up.
Time out. Before you alt-right Uber conservatives get triggered and totally lose your shit, let's just be clear, this production is not a paid political ad. This is just friends with a common goal expressing our right to freedom of speech.